Hi, everybody. We are going to get started in just a few minutes as attendees start rolling in. Normally, people start coming in a couple minutes after the hour, but I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your schedule today to learn a little bit about what we need in starting a brokerage. So my name is Warren Dow. I am one of the principal contributors to the Real Estate Technology Institute, and I was formerly the Vice President of Industry Engagement at Lone Wolf Real Estate Technologies, and I am now the Director of Channel Marketing at Lone Wolf Real Estate Technologies. So I just want to confirm with people who are on the call, if you could put a message in the chat. Are you able to hear me right now and see me on? If somebody could just put a chat there, that would be greatly appreciated. I want to make sure that everybody is able to hear me. Anybody, please? Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Anna. Okay, great. So perfect. Thank you, Vicki. Oh, wow, they're all coming in. Wow, everybody on the call is being very helpful today. So again, today we're going to be talking about what we need to know in setting up a brokerage. Whether you're an agent right now that's is considering starting a brokerage, whether you have just started your own and you're looking to grow, there are a lot of different factors that we need to take into account, not only on the technology side, but also on the business planning and key metrics that we should be tracking so that we can really grow our business as effectively or as efficiently as possible. So I am going to start sharing my screen in just one moment, but I do have to put out this plug for RETI. The Real Estate Technology Institute is just such a wonderful group of experts throughout the country. We want to help real estate professionals grow their businesses by using technology effectively. And we can't do it without members like you. We have, if you look under the offers tab within Webinar Jam, we do have the first month at $4.95, or the full year you can get a discount at $99.95. After the first month, it normally goes to, I believe, $19.95. But we can't continue doing this without supporters like you. So I really hope that you'll consider joining, and I hope that today's webinar is really helpful in your own business planning. So let me start sharing my screen, and we will make sure that everybody, can people see my PowerPoint? Can somebody just throw a quick chat up there? I know you guys are all very engaged, as we could see from that first question, but you should see something that says what you need to know in setting up your brokerage. Okay. Perfect. Great. All right. So again, my name is Warren Dow. I go by two titles: Vice President of Industry Engagement and Director of Channel Marketing. I'm really excited about sharing this information with you. I've had a lot of opportunity over the last year to learn a lot from the founder of Lone Wolf Real Estate Technologies. Lone Wolf has been around for 28 years. We primarily focus in tools that will help your back office, front office, public facing, but I am all about numbers. And the founder is Lauren Wallace. He has been a mentor to me. So he's worked with thousands and thousands of brokerages over the years. We still have thousands and thousands of brokerages that are our clients, with over 10,000 office locations throughout North America. It's been really nice to see what works in one area doesn't always work in another, but at the end of the day, when you track performance, when you have metrics, that's the only way that you can improve. It's all about creating benchmarks. So to get started, the first thing that I need to point out is that the real estate industry is an extremely messy place, right? I think we can all agree with that. Whether we have our real estate boards, and we have the MLSs, and we have agents, and we have our buyers and sellers, we have third-party companies and vendors out there, we have the accountants that need to do things, we have the real estate franchises, and everybody has different needs. But what I want to emphasize to you is that the real estate brokerage is at the center of it. So for those of you that are agents on the call or on today's webinar, this isn't anything against you, but it's important to understand that the brokerage is right at the center because they're the ones that are paying the bills. They're the ones that are hiring and paying the agents. They're the ones that are setting the commission splits. There's a lot, and of course, there's a lot of negotiation, but the brokerage is at the center of it. So know your place. The brokerage is really the most critical piece to the puzzle and making sure that everything is set, because when a brokerage is profitable, that means that the agents, there's more, there are bigger slices of the pie that make the agents that much more profitable as well. So let's continue moving on here. Now, inside the real estate space, we know that there is a ton of information, and it's all in separate silos. Especially with the technology that we use in the space. We use one vendor for one thing, and we use another vendor for websites, and we use another vendor for our lead gen. We have a CRM solution. It makes it very difficult when you have all of this data in separate silos, because then it's hard to overlay it. You have to manually take that information and you have to figure out, okay, well, here's my accounting data, and then we have our MLS data over here, we have our operational expenses over there, and it doesn't necessarily give you a true picture of where you are today or where you're going to be in the future. Your goal should always be to create a pipeline. A pipeline of data, when it can move, it's not only going to save you time and your admin's time, but it's going to give you more time to work on your business as opposed to in your business. There are a lot of brokers that continue to sell, or broker owners that continue to sell, but the reality is you can spend more time on your business and recruiting and retaining agents as opposed to working in your business when you have these sort of efficiencies set up. Now, Lone Wolf is a Canadian company. We have a very, very big presence in the US as well. But I always love to mention that Canadians love their pipelines. So this slide I throw in just to make that little joke. I'm not an accountant by any means, but a lot of people at Lone Wolf have an accounting background. And they always get a kick out of this. I never laugh at that one, but they always do. So anyway, there are a few things that we should probably start out about in talking about the epiphanies that we actually have in this industry, some things to set the foundation. Number one, how many of you wanted to be an accountant when you decided to start a brokerage or when you got into the real estate space? This is a softball. None of us wanted to be an accountant. That's very, very simple. This wasn't our dream in life, but that's the role that you're taking on when you're starting or running your own brokerage, because it's not only your success, you have a lot of other people that are relying on you as well. Remember, you're at the middle of this very complex environment that the real estate industry is. Your agents are relying on you, vendors are, the MLSs are, your boards are. There are just a lot of moving pieces. Ultimately, we're selling left brain tools or using left brain tools to right brain people. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the left brain, right brain side of things, the right side of your brain is creative, and the left side of your brain is analytical. So people who started in sales, which is where most broker owners are and where pretty much every agent is, it's because you're right brained. It means that when you start looking at numbers and reports, you're engaging the left side of your brain. Now, your goal should be to simplify it so that you don't necessarily, and automate it so that you don't necessarily have to be using things that don't come natural to you. And ultimately, you just don't want to spend as much time on anything. The next thing is that the biggest asset that you have has two legs. That's your agents. They can leave at any given time and there's nothing you can do about it. In fact, not only is there nothing you can do about it, but you can't even take them to small claims court if there's money that's owed to you, because in this industry, everybody talks. It's critical to understand that your agents are the biggest asset that you have. You can't always, well, you definitely can't fit a square peg in a round hole. And this will make more sense in a few slides, because you don't want to spend a lot of energy putting time into trying to make the right agent or an agent fit into the model that you've created. So this is going to come back to the business planning, which we will be talking about briefly before we start getting into the analytics and the tools that you really should be considering. We're also in an industry that doesn't get paid for our time. We don't get paid hourly. This is all about making sure that you're using your time as effectively or efficiently as possible. Nobody really wants to balance their checkbook, but that's something that we have to do. You're going to be in charge of a very large checkbook. Many of you are going to have multiple accounts. You're going to have escrow accounts. You're going to need to understand all of the money that runs through your business, out to your agents, and money that should also be going to you. Making sure that there's enough profit for your brokerage to keep the doors open is absolutely critical. Now, at Lone Wolf, our goal is to give the tools that are going to allow people to do the things that they don't want to do in a very easy way. Now, today I'm not trying to pitch Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf has excellent solutions. I wouldn't work for a company that I didn't believe in. Some of the examples that I'm going to be showing you today are from our solutions, but please do not see this as a sales pitch. This is really about setting up the brokerage and understanding what sort of analytics and reports you need to be looking at so that you are going to be successful from day one. And most importantly, success. There are a lot of different ways to look at that, which we'll talk about when we go through the business planning slides. I've had a mentor, Lauren Wallace. Now, some of us are lucky enough to have mentors. Some of us don't. Some of us use that term mentor pretty liberally. What I found when I first started talking to Lauren Wallace was that all of the stories that he was telling me were about his mentors, which indirectly, those people that influenced Lauren have influenced me. So when I say my mentors here, I am using it a little liberally. These were Lauren's mentors when he was younger. The first one I just want to bring out there because these are 3 points that are going to come up again and again throughout today's presentation. Number one was Paul Jeffrey. He was a paratrooper, and he was somebody that told Lauren that when they landed with the right tools, with the right equipment, in the right place at the right time, they fought like hell. But when they landed in the wrong place at the wrong time and they didn't have the right equipment, they ran like hell. And that was something that always stuck with Lauren. And why is that? Because Paul was a really powerful presence in a room. And it's really I think, humbling when you can see that somebody that you respect so much is saying that they ran when they needed to. Well, that's a reality. We don't want to fight battles that aren't on our own terms. So as a broker, it's important to make sure that you are always keeping things on your terms so that you're not fighting about something or arguing or having discussions, negotiations that are not what you need to be talking about. Because as soon as you get on the defensive, you're losing. You always want to be staying on the offensive there. There's a great example is there was this competitor in Brampton, Ontario, that Paul Jeffrey also was a broker owner. He started losing a lot of his agents to a brokerage that had opened up down in Toronto. Now, why was he losing those agents? Because there was more business in the downtown brokerage, but was there really more business for all the agents that were coming in? Maybe, maybe not. But what were those agents sacrificing? And so what he had decided to do was that he couldn't compete based on the commission splits that other brokerage was offering. He needed to start competing based on other things like lifestyle. His argument or his marketing campaigns had to do more with the convenience of working for that suburban brokerage. There was better parking. There was no parking at that downtown brokerage. People had to pay every day. So it's costing those agents money, especially if they weren't making the sales or the volume that they were expecting. So his marketing ended up being about lifestyle as opposed to commission splits, which he knew he couldn't fight or compete with. So he made the battle his own. He made it something that he knew what he was fighting for, and he knew the value that he was putting out there. And that was the way that he could win and bring in more and more agents, or get those agents coming back from that brokerage that he could not compete with based on money. This is all about making the battle your own. The next one is Gary Franklin. Now, Gary Franklin was all about how much of a pie. Now, I wish that you could see my face right now, but let's do this. We're going to put our hands together. I want you to put your thumbs together, and I want you to put all of your fingers together. Create a little circle. Now, when you have and let's call this our pie, our piece of business. When we look at a pie that's this big, how many extra pieces of that pie are there for your agents and for those vendors? There really isn't very much. It's because it's such a small pie, we're always trying to protect it, to protect our own pocketbook or wallet, right? But now let's expand that and put our arms out, okay? I want you to put your fingertips together and your arms straight out. Now that's a bigger pie. Now there's a lot more room to share when you have a bigger pie. Your goal at all times should be making your pie bigger. Whether that's more agents making your pie bigger, whether that's expanding with multiple offices, that's making it bigger, whether it's just bringing in more home sales or more clients or more volume. There are a lot of different ways to make that pie bigger, but your focus should always be to make that pie bigger, because that means that there's more money for other people. There's more money for your agents to make, and when your agents are able to make more money, that means you're able to make more money. The success of your brokerage is on the backs of your agents, right? You've got to take care of them. So the bigger pie that you have, the better you can take care of those agents. And the last one is John Balazovic. He was actually an accountant that Lauren worked with, and he owned that firm. Now, Lauren always set up all of the presentations, and John would never look at them before a meeting. Yet he would come out of every single meeting smelling like roses, and everybody loved him. Why was that? How is it possible that he could go into those meetings so unprepared, but that he was coming out looking like he knew everything, right? And that he understood everyone? It's because he spoke last, which means that you have to listen. When you're in any discussion, when you're talking to agents, when you're talking to clients, when you're talking to vendors, understand what they're saying. Don't listen to respond. Listen to understand. And at the end of it, even just repeating back what somebody else said is they believe that you really understood. You can appreciate what they're saying. And at the end of the day, they feel that their concerns are being dealt with. And it's such a great way to handle agents. It's a great way to handle vendors, because they leave feeling comfortable. All it takes is patience. But being heard is one of the most critical pieces to the puzzle. And as you step into that leadership role, or maybe you're already in that role, listening to the concerns that somebody else is putting out there goes a lot farther than trying to create a quick solution. Letting them know that they're understood. That is the biggest piece to the puzzle. So let's start going through some beliefs that I personally have, okay? The first one is we need to start thinking about what type of brokerage that we want to have. And you're going to see some similarities in the next couple slides. This is the business planning side. I'm going to emphasize this point on every single slide. There is no wrong answer, but this is all about creating that business plan. What is your business plan? Okay, number one, you have to pick a model. What type of brokerage are you actually going to start? Are you going to have a desk for rent? Are you going to have a full service brokerage? Are you going to have a fee-based brokerage? You have to understand exactly what you want to create before you can start marketing. Now, when you create a business model, you have to stick to it. You have to see it through. A lot of people change their business model or have course corrections much faster because they're not seeing results as quickly as they want. They're not recruiting enough agents, and they think that maybe they need to change their model. That's not always the case. You have to trust your intuitions. You have to trust your business plan. You created it. You've put the thought into it. You have to see it through. If you don't, you might be underselling the value that you created when you initially created that plan. Some other things that you need to consider based on the model that you're putting out there: are you going to have a multi-office? Are you going to have a mega office? Are you going to be a boutique firm? Are you going to be a franchise or a franchisee? There are a lot of considerations here, but if you decide that you want to be a boutique office, it's not necessarily going to be easy for you to expand into a multi-office very quickly, because that's going to it's going to upset the agents that felt like they were coming on for one reason, and then they end up seeing that the whole environment that you've created has changed. You want to see your business plan through, and what you've chosen initially and how you've recruited and retained agents over the years. Don't ostracize them. Make sure that you stick to what you've created, okay? So again, you're going to see a few things in these next couple slides. Matching your business plan to the answers above is critically important, but there is no wrong answer. We have seen every business model work, and we've seen every business model fail. Okay, the same exact business models can work for you, and they could fail for somebody else. And what I believe, and what I hope you believe, is that it's all about commitment. It's about seeing it through. It's about making sure that you have fully thought through your business plan, making sure that it works for your market, that it works for your type of agents, that it works for your type of buyers and sellers. You are the only one that knows your market. As I can't tell you what your market is like. I mean, sure, we can do some analysis, and you can have other people help, consultants help. You probably want to bring in some agents, early adopters, to give their feedback as well of when you've let them know that you may be starting this brokerage. But you have to stick to your business plan. Now, what type of agents do you want to bring in? Again, there's no wrong answer. Different demographics are critical, because you have to understand your buyer and seller market as well. So what type of buyers? Do you want to have millennials? Do you want to have baby boomers? There's this conspiracy out there that baby boomers are being pushed out of the market. So we should really be focused on recruiting younger and younger agents so that they can relate to the younger buyers. Yes, our buyers are getting younger and younger. Millennials are the largest buying demographic. But what a lot of people aren't considering is that sellers, there are a ton of baby boomers that are selling their homes, and having more mature agents, people who've been in the industry for a very long time, is also of tremendous value. So, you might want to have some agents on the selling side and some on the buying side that fit different age demographics. But again, this is all about what you want to create for your business model. You have to understand it. You're the one that's building this business. Do you want to build your agent base based on performance? Do you only want to hire people that are in the top percentage of the market for buying and selling, or volume? Transactions, sides, what is it? What type of performance do you want to judge those agents on? The next is, what style of agents are they? Do you have anybody in your office that does this really well, or do you want anybody in your office that is really good at closing digital leads, ones that are coming through online? Because there are not many agents. I've got to say this, the majority of agents are not very good at closing on digital leads. So it's a very unique demographic. You have to understand what you want your environment to look like within your brokerage. Beyond that, how are you going to manage these people? Are you going to personally be hands-on? Are you going to hire other people so you can be hands-off? Are you going to delegate it? Understanding how much time you want to invest in it. There are a lot of people that really just invest in a brokerage, that they don't want to have anything to do with it. What type of broker owner do you want to be? And I'm asking that rhetorically, of course, right? But understanding what type of broker owner, don't set up a business model that's based one way, but feel like you have to step in all the time if other people aren't following through. You want to trust the people who are in charge, whether that's you or other people. You may have people that you recruit that are coming on board because they want to learn from you. They might want you as a mentor, which means that you can't necessarily be there on one stage and then not be there to help them with coaching, right? Be there as part of the recruitment, but then not be there to help them succeed or grow their business. So Creating that business model and understanding exactly what's going to work or doesn't work, that's what's going to show you success at the end of it. Match your business plan to the answers that you have. The next is, what type of goals do you want? Do you want your brokerage to be successful based on a positive lifestyle so that you or your agents don't necessarily have to work 80-hour weeks? Is it all about the quality of life? Is it about convenience, like the parking lot, as opposed to commission splits? What is going to be your differentiator? How are you going to recruit that's different than other brokerages in your area? Lifestyle is a big one. Is it about being able to generate more income for your agents? Commission splits are another really big one. Is it that you don't really see the profits coming in other than being able to sell your business down the road, which means that you need to have succession planning? There are a lot of different ways to make money from owning a real estate brokerage and running a real estate brokerage. Create your business plan on how you want to make that money. How much time are you going to put in? Full-time? Are you going to be part-time? Are you not going to be involved at all? All of these are different ways or goals in creating this business. And individual agents, of course, agents have their own goals, and brokers that are involved in selling on a day-to-day basis, they're going to be much more full-time than brokers that are really just more on the management side. And it can be very difficult for brokers or people who step into that broker management role, because that's the natural next step, right? We become an agent, then we train and we become a broker, and then the next step is, okay, well, what do I do in my career? Oh, well, I'm going to start a brokerage. That's what I should do. Starting a brokerage is expensive and it's stressful. You have to know what you're getting yourself in for. And by no means am I trying to deter you from this. I think it's an excellent model. It's an excellent way to go on to that next step and see more and more success in your real estate career. But understand exactly what you're looking for out of it. Understand that the first couple of years of starting that brokerage are going to be a huge time commitment, and it's something that you have to set the foundation early on. Make sure that you match it to your business plan, because otherwise you're going to be course correcting and then you're not going to be able to see it through in general. Now, partners. This is one that you really want to consider. What type of technology are you going to be offering your agents? And this is where we start getting into the analytics and the actual tech side of things. So there's no wrong answers here. What tools are you going to provide your agents? Are you going to provide them CRM? Are you going to provide them a website? Are you going to provide them email? There are some tools here that you may want to consider. Number one is email. This is a really great retention tool, because when you provide an email address to your agents that they're using that's connected to your domain, it's something that if that agent leaves, they're going to lose that email. If you provide great tools that the agents use, that they have tremendous value, or that it shows tremendous value for those agents, it's going to deter them from leaving. Remember, our greatest asset has two legs. We want to prevent them from leaving. So with technology, these can be tools that they rely on that are going to really prevent them from walking out the door. And this is a really big one. What types of things did you want when you were an agent? Or what types of tools do you want from your brokerage? There was a study that found that a better website, better technology solutions is one of the main reasons why an agent will leave one brokerage for another. Don't skimp on the money. Cutting corners, spending less money is not always going to be in your best interest, okay? What tools are you going to outsource? Or are you going to vet certain vendors and say, hey, I've tested these 3 vendors and these are the three solutions that I'd suggest you use, right? Or choose one of them, and it's going to work best with the other tools that we have in this office. A lot of companies vet certain vendors, and then they don't want to force agents to use a particular solution. Also, that usually means that the money is coming out of the agent's pocket as opposed to out of the broker's pocket. Some brokerages say, listen, I'm not going to provide any tools. Agents should be doing it on their own. And that's completely fine business model. Those have been successful business models. But from where I sit, the most successful brokerages are going to have the best technology, because it is a fantastic recruitment tool and it is a fantastic retaining tool, okay? Um, Also, understanding your workflow. Lead generation is critical. Are you going to charge your agents for those leads, or are you going to give it as part of your as part of the business model? Is this going to be a value add to your agents? What about paperless or document workflow? Are you going to provide this? Are you going to expect your office to do it? If you expect your office to be paperless, every single person in your office needs to be doing those same things. Every single one needs to be paperless. It takes one weak link for things not to work out. Make sure that whatever you set up, and if you're starting a brokerage or you have a new brokerage, it's a great time to set these. There are brokerages that have been around for decades that are trying to do the transition from a more traditional paper-based filing or I guess historical data, right? And they're trying to switch over to paperless. Many of you may be in those situations. When you're starting out, have these tools in place. It's going to set you apart as being a technology cutting edge company. Efficiency. What other sort of workflow? Websites? Are you going to make sure that are you going to have an admin that's going to help your agents complete those workflows? Or are you going to expect it to be on the broker's backs? Are you going to expect agents to do more work? It's all about the model that you create. You're not going to be wrong. You just need to see your business plan through. Other types of services. Are you going to provide third-party services? Like I said, like having admins to complete the deal paperwork. Are you going to give those leads to your clients? Is there property management? Are you going to have a title insurance company or mortgage company that you're going to share space with? Are those services going to be of value to your agents? Are they going to be of value to your clients? Asking these questions, what value is this giving? And asking it at the different levels. Ultimately, as a broker owner, your agents are your clients. And the buyers and sellers are your agents' clients. Understanding the value that goes to both of those demographics, as well as the management within your office, the admins within the office, it's going to help you shape a successful business model, okay? And why is it important? Are you going to be able to create more revenue per transaction by having those ancillary services? Are you going to be able to reduce the cost per transaction? Or is it just going to be more consistent revenue stream for you so that you can weather the months that, there's a lot of seasonality in many markets. Some markets don't have the same sort of seasonality. But there are different reasons why you may want to consider third-party services like title or mortgage companies that you share space with. Now, we do want to be aware that we can't force buyers and sellers to use any particular vendor, but there are ways that you can make money from this. At the end of the day, it's coming back to the brokerage, and you can share more with your agents that way. Staffing, what do we need? When you're hiring somebody, are you bringing in somebody that's the same as you, or are you bringing in somebody that's the opposite of you? Different business models, different strategies. It all depends on what you find your weaknesses and your strengths to be. I am one that tends to think that the people that I work with, I need somebody who's more my opposite. I need somebody who's going to challenge me, because then we're going to come to better conclusions together. Are you going to try to hire somebody that's going to have a better relationship with your agents? Is it about the mentoring and the coaching? Now, this is the big question. Does work equal 8 hours a day, or does 8 hours equal work? You want people that are committed to getting the job done, not people who are committed to being in the office 8 hours. You want people who want to be successful. That's the way that you're going to be more successful. It's not about 8-hour work days. We do not get paid. We do not punch cards anymore, right? It's all about getting the job done, more deals, more sides, more money, more commissions. So we don't want to be penny wise, pound foolish. Spend the money on the technology. It's going to be a really effective tool. Spend the money on great coaches or mentors, admin staff that are going to help grow your agents. Again, the success of your brokerage is on the back of your agents. Anything you can do to help them grow their business, you're growing your own business at the same time. Don't slack or cut corners just to have a solution that you're not going to be happy with at the end of it, okay? The second thing is sometimes it's okay to do the dirty jobs. There are brokers that I know that run very, very successful brokerages. They make a lot of money from it, but they're still okay with taking the trash out themselves. They're okay with cleaning the bathrooms inside the brokerage. Is that something that you're okay doing? Because if it is, that means that you are being wise about your financial decisions. If you're not, that's okay too. I'm not trying to insult anybody. What I'm trying to say is it's okay to do the dirty jobs. It's something that a lot of business owners, I wouldn't call it bootstrapping, but a lot of business owners, I've owned my own business. It was acquired by Lone Wolf last year or the year before. I was willing to do some of those dirty jobs, and it saved a lot of money. And at the end of the day, it made me a lot more money on the back end. Okay. The last is bonuses. How can we get more recruiting? I am a big advocate of giving your agents are the first people that are going to be seen. When somebody comes into the office and you're trying to recruit them, have your agents always be talking positive about your brokerage. And the best way to do that is giving bonuses to agents that help with the recruitment process. If somebody joins your brokerage because one of your agents, existing agents, was saying positive things, give them a reason to continue doing it. It's all about recruitment and retaining those agents as well. Okay, so now we're going to move into the metrics side. I'm sorry, I hope many of you found the business planning aspects valuable, but this is the Real Estate Technology Institute, and I am all about numbers. I really love numbers. So the reports that I'm about to show you come out of a solution from Lone Wolf called Brokerwolf. Now, Brokerwolf is a back office solution. It does accounting and it overlays operational data. Remember what I was saying at the beginning about pipelines, trying to have data seamlessly flow? What I find is if you look at many brokers won't necessarily have the money when they first start a brokerage to invest in big solutions, right? A lot of people are going to say, okay, I'm going to use QuickBooks and I'm going to use a spreadsheet, and because it's going to save money. And this goes back to the point of don't penny wise, pound foolish. That's not necessarily a good way to be. It may save you money today by having QuickBooks and a spreadsheet, but as you start trying to coach agents and you have to manually run reports that are trying to look at what QuickBooks can show you, which is not really how you're doing, it's how you did. And then you overlay operational data like pending transactions and that sort of stuff. Well, ultimately, you're looking at two completely different sets of data. It's going to take a lot of time out of your schedule to create those reports that are going to help individual agents. It's probably one of the main reasons that a lot of brokerages only do business planning with their agents once a year, right? Because it is extremely time intensive. So these are some of the ones that are most important from my, in my opinion, okay? Number one is commission cutting. Commission cutting, this commission cutting report, this allows you to, it's one of the things that many brokerages don't track. They'll track people who have the most sides and the most volume and the most gross commission income and all of that stuff. And that's how they create awards for their agents, right? But commission cutting is not only critical to understand, but it's really showing you how much money is left on the table. Like, we can see with this report, which is automatically done through Brokerwolf. Again, you can run these reports manually through multiple sources, so don't feel like I'm trying to push Brokerwolf on you. What I'm trying to show is some of these reports are really valuable and it takes seconds to run. I can choose any specific time frame, and then I come down and I see, okay, this agent only had two ends. Their commission was $15,000. The commission percentage was 2.6%. Okay, that's fantastic. But as we go down and we see these in order, this bottom agent had 8 sides, but they were only charging 2.2% on average for their commission, which means that over $11,000 was left on the table. Now, don't get me wrong, that is partly your money and partly your agent's money. That's money that was left on the table because that agent wasn't necessarily able to articulate their value. Okay. Now, what happens when somebody is charging less and less commission? It's called, there is a problem that comes up. I'm not going to call it a challenge. It's a problem. It means that that agent's going to come to you and say, I don't have enough money. And what does an agent do? They're going to come to you and they're going to say, that's your problem now. They're going to talk to you about getting a higher percentage split from the commission. But when you can have a report like this and say, you know what? I don't think that we need to make that change right now. I think we need to discuss ways that we can help you articulate your value better. We need ways that you can keep that 2.2 up at a 2.6. Because if you were charging what we want other agents to charge, I want this base to be 2.5. If you would charge just 0.3% higher on your commission, you would have made $11,000 more this month. Which means that I would have made another $3,000 and you would have made another $8,600, right? You don't want to make your agent's problems your problems. What you want to do is be proactive. And that's the biggest difference between a successful brokerage and an unsuccessful brokerage. Proactive versus reactive. What we have here, when you can run these reports, you can go to them before they come to you. And don't get me wrong. When an agent has a problem, they're going to try to make it your problem. By being proactive, you can go to them and say, hey, you did fantastic last month. You had 8 ends. That's awesome. Let's find a way that you can make even more money if you can just keep up that same pace. Let's see if we can get that average commission percentage higher. Most brokerages don't track commission cutting. This is one of the most critical pieces that you can make more money from the exact deals that are being done. At the end of the day, there's only so many ways that we can make more money, right? Sell higher priced homes, right? That's number one. Number two, we can charge a higher commission, or we can do more deals. There are only 3 ways that a real estate agent can make more money. Commission cutting is probably the first one that you want to talk about because it's not going to create more work for them. They're already doing however many ends that they're doing. And they're already selling the types of homes that they're able to get the business for. Commission cutting is the one where if you can articulate your value proposition, more money is going to be on the table for everybody. Okay, sorry, I forgot to point out all of these things. And one of the other things is, one of the rankings that you can do for your agents is this commission cutting. The agents that have the highest ones, you might want to ask them to help the other agents with better value proposition. This is what it all comes down to. Data allows you to be a better coach and mentor to help your agents grow their business. Okay, the next one is fee targets. Now, when we're starting to look at this, we might naturally think, okay, we want to make sure that people are bringing in as much money as possible. We create business plans and models based on when we do a business plan with our agents every year, we say, okay, so how many deals do you think you can close? What percentage is that going to be? How much of that is my split? You budget for your brokerage based on the discussions you have with your agent. You know that this agent, you've budgeted $24,000 that you're expecting from them. Okay, $24,000 by the end of the year is how much commission you want to be getting from them. That's pretty simple, very easy to do. But then as every deal happens, you want to understand how close they are to their business plan. Because if they're not close to that business plan, that means you're not going to be close to yours. If they're down by $3,700, this is one agent, okay, running from January to December. If you're not running these reports on a monthly basis to understand where your agents are, it's going to be very difficult for your brokerage to hit its budget by the end of the year. Understanding where every agent is based on their what you've budgeted them to make is going to help you have those discussions. In fact, in some of your commission splits or contracts that you have with your agents, you may want to talk to them about this and say, listen, if by Q4, so the beginning of October, you are off by X percentage of where you should be for the year, you're agreeing that your commission split is going to change from 70-30 to 60-40 until we hit that goal. Now, is that the best way to do it? No, you might lose some agents, but if you are budgeting $27,000, If you're $24,000 from that agent and you're $5,000 short, is that going to affect your business being successful? Is it going to affect you keeping the doors open at the end of the day? It could. It really, really could. So understanding where people are is going to be critical. The next one is when you're doing your business planning, you have to understand where you're, like, what sort of agent performance you have. This is the best way to keep agents around, is be active. Don't do a business planning session once a year. Set it up quarterly, maybe monthly with some agents who really want it. But you can make changes. Broker Wolf makes that really easy to do so that you're not spending a ton of time with spreadsheets and trying to compare all sorts of data. Basically, you can choose how many listings you expect an agent to have. And this is also just for looking at your company. You set these different benchmarks. Okay, I want agents to have at least 2.9%. I want to make sure that my agents are getting a minimum of $50,000 gross commission income. I expect them to sell over $2 million in revenue. I want them to have at least 5 sides. You set these benchmarks, then you can run a report. And when you run that report, it's going to show you all of those agents. It's going to show you all of those agents that are not meeting those benchmarks, so that you can go and talk to them about, okay, so I see that you have your gross commission and you've met all these others, but you haven't met your commission percentage. It allows you to be proactive. And again, I cannot emphasize this enough. A proactive broker owner or a proactive office manager is going to be 10 times more effective than a reactive manager. It's that simple. Having these reports and having data at your fingertips is going to allow you to be accessible to your agents. It's going to be able to give you value to your agents, and it's going to keep them around longer. Have these tools at your fingertips. The next one is aging summary. Now, when we use things like QuickBooks, so we say, okay, how much money is actually owed to me? We're going to look at this column. How much these expenses, OS. Okay, I hope you guys can see my mouse hovering there. A natural instinct when you're looking at how much money is owed from different agents, the natural instinct is to look at the biggest number. I look here, and my natural instinct is to say, oh my God, this agent is going to owe me $11,000. They are a huge risk to me right now. I'm going to go and talk to them right away. Right? Meanwhile, this agent that owes you $625, you're like, oh, well, it's only $625. That's not a big deal. But the reality is, if you're not overlaying that operational data, if you're not taking into account pending transactions and deals that are closing in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, that sort of thing, you're not really seeing how your brokerage is doing. You're seeing how your brokerage did. Having these numbers at your fingertips are going to allow you to really see who the risky agents are. An agent that owes you $11,000 today, but you know that within the next 90 days, they're going to be bringing in over $24,000 in commission, there's going to be no uncovered expenses. Meanwhile, an agent that owes you $625 today, but has no pending transactions in 30, 60, or 90 days, they're going to still owe you $625 at the end of it. So whoever owes you the most money today is not your biggest risk. It's the person who's going to owe you that same money today that they're going to owe you in 90 days. Okay, so the aging reports, this is really critical to understanding the health of your brokerage. Where are you going to be? Because when you do this reactively, you don't want to find out that you can't open your doors or keep the doors to your brokerage open next week. You want to know this 90 days out, so that you can either try to recruit more agents, you can try to motivate your agents to do more, or you can try to cut expenses so that you're not spending money that you think you're going to have that you aren't at the end of the day. Okay. Now, the last thing I would really like for you to consider is that most brokerages do not consider their own profit. This is really important. You need to know how much money you want to make by owning that brokerage. You are putting a tremendous risk out there. You are spending money, you are spending time. You really want to make sure that you're making the money that you expect by putting that risk out there. It's all about return on investment, right? If with this sort of break-even calculation, some people call it a monthly nut. I had never heard that phrase until I started working at Lone Wolf, but it makes sense. You want to know what your monthly nut is. How much do you need for you to make the money that you expect to and pay all of your overhead and pay all of those expenses? Well, in this situation, I set $25,000 as the how much profit I want to make as the broker owner. Outside of, this is what needs to be left over to go into my pocket. But when you do this, it will take into account all of the pending transactions, how many closings you're expecting in that month, and it's going to say how much money you're short to cover your overhead as well as your desired profit. So what it's going to kick out for you is, how many more deals do we need to close, or how many more agents do we need to recruit, right? Depending on your model and what you've set for your business plan. Maybe you're making money from desk fees. So instead of closing more deals, you could recruit more agents. If it's based strictly on commissions, you need your agents to close more deals so that you can hit that monthly nut. If you don't take into account your own profit, owning a real estate brokerage is not going to be very effective for you. I think that's the easiest way to say it. It's not going to be as profitable as you'd like it to be. Making sure that you have these reports or ways that you can run these type of reports, it's going to make sure that you can stay in business longer. And that means keeping your agents around longer as well. So those are 5 of the most important things. We're coming up, it's 3:50, we have 10 minutes left. So just a couple things that I'd like to reinforce here. Number 1, how many of you recruit? This is a softball because everybody should be raising their hand. I know that this is a webinar, so I doubt any of you are raising your hand. I just hope you're still paying attention. This is the essence to running a business: recruiting and retaining agents. Number 2, how many of you, when you recruit an agent and you tell them all the things that you do for them, how many of them remember all of those things 6 months later? Your job is to remind them. So every month, you may want to make sure that they're getting statements that even if you're not charging them for leads, put a value to it. If you're not charging them to sit at the desk, that's fine, but put a value to it and credit it back. How many of you provide training for your agents, right? Who holds events for in their office or plan to hold events in their office that they don't charge their agents for? Are you subsidizing events for agents to do continuing education? Maybe, maybe not. Are you performing any other services for your agents? What does your monthly expense statement tell your agents? Because you need to remind them. You need to make sure that you are articulating the value of everything that you do for them. Credit it back if you're not actually charging them, but put a value to it. And this is going back to the do not fight a battle on somebody else's terms. Okay? When somebody is trying to recruit me away from your firm, what is that broker owner or that recruiter telling the agent to bring? They're telling them to bring their expense statement. Hey, just bring your monthly expense statement. So when I go into that other one, you're not there to defend yourself. You're not there to articulate the value that you just gave that agent. It's this other broker owner that's just looking at a piece of paper. So then when that agent goes in there and says, oh, well, do you give leads to me? How much do you charge for that? The agent says, oh, well, we charge 10% extra for each agent, or we charge a flat fee for every lead that comes through, right? And the agent says, oh, wow, I got that for free from my last brokerage. Or, there are different things that are going to allow you to articulate your value, but have it on paper, because you can't always be in the room when somebody's trying to recruit your agent or steal them away from your brokerage. Let your expense statement do that task for you. Okay, this is another critical piece to the technology component. Make sure your reports are articulating your value, because then even though this person is trying to steal one of your agents away, it's on your terms. It's on the value that you brought. And now that other broker has to be defensive instead of you needing to be defensive, or on, defensive, I think, is probably the best word there. You only lose the battle if you don't know what you're fighting about. So I think your monthly expense statement is one of those most critical pieces. Now, the big decisions that you have here, you have some really big ones. Number one, what kind of business model are you going to create? Are you going to stick to it? What are you going to spend your time on? How much time are you able to commit? Are you going to be selling? Are you going to just be managing? Are you going to be recruiting? Are you going to be coaching? Are you going to be hands-off? How are you going to hold people accountable? How are you going to win at the end of the day? It all comes down to making sure that everything is tracked and that you have reporting. Save time by using technology to your advantage. Now, this is just one last piece that I think it's critical to do with every single agent that you may be bringing on. How much money can your agent make? So we're going to make some assumptions here. How many people does an agent know who could buy a house? Let's just throw out the number 350 are in their sphere of influence. 350 people. Now, we know that people on average will buy or sell a home. They'll move every 8 years, something along those lines. So the average sale price, I just used this number, $250,000. What's the average commission in your market? 2.75%. Again, it may be different in your market. It might be higher, it might be lower. The average sale price might be higher, lower. The average number, the sphere of influence, I think that's a pretty safe number there. But the potential book of business for each one of those agents on a yearly basis, we're going to assume that people move every 7 years. So of 350 that are in a sphere of influence, 50 deals per year is that potential for that agent to make. At $250,000 at 2.75%. That means that $343,000 is the potential book of business for each one of your agents. How powerful is that? This is how much money you can make if you hit these 3 goals. Have an average sale price of $250, sell 50 properties and sell it at 2.75%. This is how much money you're going to make. And this is going to be your commission split on it. This is what I'll make. This is what you'll make. How powerful is that? If I knew that I had this sort of potential, well, I would be working toward that every single day when I joined a brokerage. I don't think a lot of brokers spend the time to do that with agents. I just don't think enough do it. This is extremely, extremely powerful. You can only impact the number of people in your market. You can only impact the commission percentage. You cannot impact the average sale price. You can try to get into luxury market, but the reality is the only 2 things that you can change are your value proposition with commissions and the number of sides that you make per year. That's all that you can change. So your job is to help your agents grow that book of business, help them with with technology, keep them around as long as possible. When they're successful, you're successful. Now, that brings me to the end of today's presentation. I really appreciate your time. I hope you learned something from this. I hope you took a lot of, you either took notes. There are ebooks, or I do have an ebook about starting your own business. There's a lot of really valuable information in there. It was put out by Lone Wolf. If any of you are interested in getting a copy of that ebook, just email me. My email address is wdow@lwolf.com. I really love seeing people be successful in this space. I take a lot of pride in helping agents and brokers and broker owners build their business. That's what it's all about. If our clients and the people that I work with weren't seeing that growth, I wouldn't be very happy with it. But I do get to see it. And I hope today really helped you. The Real Estate Technology Institute is dedicated to helping agents and broker owners and basically everybody in the real estate space understand technology in a different way. Today's presentation kind of broke our mold. We're not talking about a specific technology, but more so in terms of just building that brokerage and all the reporting behind it, which I've really come to learn is one of the most critical pieces to the puzzle. So please feel free to get in touch with me directly. Please consider becoming a member of RETI if you're not already. It's the only way that we can continue doing these webinars. It's the only way that we can really continue providing this value through the Real Estate Technology Institute. I really appreciate your time today. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. And again, if you guys would like to have a copy of that ebook, please just shoot me an email and I will send you the link where you can download it. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. I'm going to stay on for the next couple minutes. I'm going to stop the broadcast, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have in the chat. And that being said, go get them.